Well, I do come from a long line of entrepreneurs. My grandfather came over here overseas from China and brought my grandmother and my mother when she was about 3 years old overseas. So, he started his own business in both the laundry and the restaurant industry and worked really hard. So I feel like I got my genes from that initially. And my entrepreneurial journey began in 2007 when I started a clothing line for kids, and then invested in a wine bar for a little bit as well.
Wait, how old were you?
I know. And then it came when I went to school. I was a bioengineer by training and really wanted to go into the biotech community, and became a consultant after college for quite some time. And then I had found that after settling in San Diego, there weren't a lot of lab services that supported the things that I did. So I was complaining so much about it. Somebody said, why don't you do something about it? And that's when the lab started in 2008. So that's from my personal investment, money in the business, no help from banks, because 2008 was the economic downturn. There wasn't anybody giving out loans or SBA to new businesses. We started from scratch and bootstrapped our way into a multi-million-dollar business. And I just sold it in 19.
I know, right? Where are we?
I know.
At the time of filming, like the whole world seems a blur.
I know. Yeah, it is.
It is
really.
a blur, yes. We won't get into that. Okay, so let's go back and talk about the business itself, the core business.
Yeah, so it is a quality control laboratory that services the biotech community here, both in San Diego and across the country, doing really quality control of medical devices, pharmaceuticals, therapeutics, biologics, from R&D to in-process to final product testing for the safety and health of all consumers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And talk about, the highs and lows as you built the company. Talk about team and whatever you want to talk about.
Well, it's always very exciting to start a business. So that was great. The industry here in San Diego is very tight-knit, so everybody knows everyone. Because of my reputation as a consultant, that really helped out with lots of referrals and learning and networking. I think really my biggest takeaway is working with the people. You are only as good as the team that you put around you, and you're only as good as the practices that you put in place and the preparation that you have before things happen. So one of my goals before I started even opening the doors of the company to customers is getting our ISO certification, which is a guarantee that we have the systems in place, that we are quality oriented, GMP, GXP. That's very important to everybody in our industry. So preparation was a big key. I think another item that I take away from this is perseverance, that you can't let one little thing get you down and then quit. You're always going to have bumps in the road. You're going to have that one client that gives you a hard time, or you're going to have that one employee that comes up with an issue that you've never thought of before. And you're going to have like really great days when you have a client that you didn't expect that overpays and is really happy with your work and refers you to more people.
Yeah, lots of moving parts. Lots of moving parts. So Kim, you bootstrapped the company in entirety, or did you take on any capital as you grew?
So for the first 5 years, it was bootstrapping completely, and we were working off of the sales of the company. And then we were large enough at that point that I was able to secure an SBA loan to do an expansion on the laboratory. And we've expanded twice over since that time, so it was a good investment. Prior to the sale, we really fast-tracked our debt mitigation. So we were completely debt-free by the time that we sold the company, which was just more money for me.
Great job. Great job. So at what point in the process, Kim, did you start to think about an exit?
Mm-hmm. So from the very beginning. Okay. So building the company to be, really for you as the owner to be not indispensable was always the goal that I had in mind. And it was also a model that was sustainable on its own. So if I had the right team in place, I had the right people doing the correct jobs, then it could work by itself. Because at some point, I do want to go on vacation or take a break or stay home with my sick kids. So it was really built that way all the time. And then every few years, I also sought outside evaluation to make sure that we were on par with market and to make sure that we were making enough revenue to be marketable to be sold at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you have a family.
I do.
So, as you mentioned, once in a while you want to be at home.
Right. And... Yeah. 2 teenage boys, yes. Very challenging.
I understand. So I wouldn't say started with the end in mind because that's sort of a catchphrase, but you were thinking about it consistently, right. Making sure that you were in a position where you could remove yourself from the business. At what point, how many years in were you when you really started to look for suitors, perhaps, or however you
I would say it works the other way.
Okay.
So there's a certain revenue point that's met that you start getting attention. And that's what really happened to us. So after we secured the money for the expansions, you saw that we were expanding, we were an extremely profitable company. That catches people's eyes. So I didn't really seek suitors as much as suitors sought me.
Okay. Yeah. And how did that process go? What did that feel like?
It was exciting at first. Your first suitor is always exciting because you're wanted. I would say over time though, you become savvier and savvier about what do I really want out of this? What are they really looking for? What are the legal, what are the financial implications of all of this? And again, my most important item when dealing with any of these suitors was how are they going to treat my customers and how are they going to treat my employees? That was really the most important things to me. So a lot of people fell away because of that. So it was easy to decide in the end.
Yeah. And how many, what third time, 14th time
was
the charm?
So the suitor I chose was the 13th suitor. It was very exciting. Yeah.
Got it.
But it does take that long. You have to go through the process with several people before you find the correct match.
Awesome. And how did you know it was the correct match?
I think it was just the common philosophy between myself and the CEO of the other company, and knowing that my people were going to get taken care of, my customers were going to get taken care of. We had the same value system that really helped a lot.
Awesome. And let's talk about that negotiation process. How long did that take? Any advice for folks that are going through it?
Yeah. So first, I really highly recommend that you get a business broker and a business attorney when you go into talks of this nature. The other party will have all of these things in place as well. So there is no mystery whatsoever. And rely on these people to be your subject matter expert in this area because you're not supposed to know everything. There's no way that you could study all the law or the tax implications that come out of this. So please just rely on those subject matter experts.
Can I ask a quick question to interrupt there?
Sure.
A broker.
Yes.
Because that's it's all the entrepreneurs I've talked to. Stay away from brokers. Stay away from brokers. So in my mind, and I could be misinformed, what I think of a business broker is somebody that's going to go out and help me find a buyer for the business. You already had a buyer for the business. Why did you need a broker?
Because I wanted someone to review the business contract.
Okay.
And somebody who knew how to do evaluations and understood what implications were for taxes.
Okay.
And to have my best interest as a seller.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because the other party will always have that as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
And how long did this Dan's take.
So I initially had said no to this particular company. It was September timeframe that they had gotten in touch with me. I mulled over it over Thanksgiving. I gave them a no, and then they came back with a better offer, which was equity and more money, which was interesting to me. And then over Christmas, I had said yes. And then the whole process is really knowing your business. And if you don't know the ins and outs of your financials, then you really need someone who does. So either your own bookkeeper or CPA or interim CFO, they really need to be involved and be able to answer all the questions on your balance sheet and your income statement. Because I knew all of that, the process went fairly quickly. So we closed by April, which is extremely fast.
Yeah.
Extremely fast. I would say a process could take 6 months to a year, depending on the size of the company and how many financial items you have on your statements.
Sure.
But it was because I was very comfortable with my books and how I ran the business and operations. It was fairly easy for me to ask questions. The only time it gets difficult or it takes longer is when you have to search for the answers to questions like, how do you do this? What's your process for that? What is that line item on your expense? What was that for? If you can't answer those readily, then it just takes longer.
Makes sense. And how did you come to that decision, cash versus equity? And was that a struggle at all?
So initially, my thought process was that, I think there are different answers for different people. For me in particular, cash was important because I wanted to have the return on investment that I had put into the company. Equity was also important because my intention was to continue working with the company with a separate employment contract. And here is a tip. That you do your purchase agreement with the seller or the buyer, and you have a separate employment contract for yourself. Do not tie yourself as an employee to the company as part of your purchase agreement. Yeah, that's a huge tip I have to give to everybody.
Good advice. So keep those separate and documentation-wise and even contingent-wise?
I would not have any contingencies between the two of them.
Okay.
And
but a lot of times they want to.
They do. And there's a lot of times that people put in, if you're a growing company and it's a bigger company, they put revenue constraints on you. That's something I didn't want. So I knew at this point this is how big I could grow the company on my own. So the return on investment, I think, was reasonable, and then I wanted to continue working with the company, so that was a separate employment agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other advice you would give somebody who's thinking about this process?
That you have to keep thinking about it, and be brave and bold. Like, you really know what you want. You have to know exactly what you want, and don't downgrade. If you want to sell your company for $10 million, then sell your company for $10 million. Don't say, oh, I'll take the 3 and go. It's not worth it. You should get what you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good. Love it. Great advice. So Kim, what are you doing now? Well, let me actually frame that a little differently. I'm going to ask one additional question, and then I'll come back to that. The day the paperwork was signed, or whatever landmark you want to talk about, what did that feel like?
It was fear and excitement, and it was almost like jumping out of a plane again, like just starting over a new adventure. It was very exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good. And what are you up to now?
So lots of different things. So I have fulfilled my year of my employment contract, so I have stopped working for the laboratory, which is an exciting new adventure and a good break. I've been looking into doing some more angel investments. I've started doing that over the course of the year. Very exciting. It's a whole new world.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then also I've been looking into a franchise that involves adult daycare, which COVID has now put on hold for a year, which is fine. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. And then now working in consulting and helping people.
So,
yeah.